tell us more about what you're doing and what are your priorities? Because you wear many hats. So how do you connect the dots between all the hats you wear?
Sure. Thank you so much. Firstly, it's such an honor to be here. I represent our business is family owned, 100% privately controlled, 100% professionally run. Today we have over 30,000 people working with the group, contributing almost 3% of the total tax collected in our country. But we've always felt as a small company from a small country but with big dreams. And I think I'm a very strong advocate that a private sector led philanthropic initiatives is the way forward for execution implementation. And we learned this quite late during an incident in Nepal in April 2015 when there was a devastating catastrophic earthquake which took lives of almost 10,000 people, 600,000 homes were damaged or destroyed. And when you are able to leverage your private sector businesses to doing good, the impact, the speed, and the overall outcome is just phenomenal. I'll just take a minute to explain that to you. So when the earthquake hit in 2015, because our company is into education, we have like 17 schools and colleges around the areas that were affected by earthquake. We immediately converted them to relief camps. Because we are into healthcare, we will immediately be able to provide our medical relief and our nurses and our doctors. And because we are a strong FMCG company, we had 2,000 of our sales staff, sales force on the field who had the right data points to exactly which families or homes that were affected. And those data points were then being used by multilateral agencies. Because we're an FMCG company, we're immediately able to support food, water, beverages, fruit juices, etc. 15 days after the earthquake, because there were a lot of people who lost their homes. We collaborated through PwC with a company, an NGO, who was doing a lot of work in northern India, where a lot of disaster, earthquake was happening. So we came up in 15 days with a transition shelter. In 1 year's time, we were able to deliver 5,600 transition shelters, 55 schools, 22 digital classrooms, 20 clean water drinking systems. We rebuilt an entire village, which was completely gone with the second earthquake. Rebuilt 110 permanent homes with the community center and trained 8,000 people. And did another 20-25 social business impact projects, sort of creating businesses. So all that happened in 1 year, and it takes, the government is such a big mechanism. It takes them 1 year just to figure out what's going on. So, that's when we realized that we need to do a lot more and leverage our private sector mindset, our processes, how we engage and execute philanthropic initiatives. Whenever we are out and a lot of people keep asking us, we are the only Forbes billionaire family of Nepal. But what about the poverty or the standard of living or the condition of Nepal? That's one answer we don't have. And the only way, our entire purpose of our entire family has sort of, the narrative and the optic has changed, where now we are driven to create and grow our wealth so that we can do more. Every year we sit, our family sits and says, okay, this year we're going to focus on 4 or 5 areas of doing different sectors. We'll focus on philanthropy. But I'm so happy that's never the case, because 9 out of 10 problems in the year that come to us, we'll end up doing, because we sort of are able to see that we can easily leverage our private sector infrastructure in doing that. So, even SDGs. I think UNDP was doing a study on our group that we're probably one of the only companies they've come across that does every single SDG. We touch every single SDG doing 45 different initiatives. But we still feel we're just scratching the surface. But today we are extremely proud that we are partnering with some of the largest, most successful philanthropic organizations, multilateral agencies, because of their know-how, their technical expertise, their experiences. And we know Nepal well. So our execution capabilities and that collaboration is making a lot of difference. Our newest area of focus, which we've prioritized, is obviously the climate change that's affecting the Hindu-Kush region.
Thank you. And I want to probe you more. Beyond the family business, you're also the newer generation, because you're a young global leader. right? So you're young, right? You're also brought up in a slightly different era, right? So tell us, maybe not, I wouldn't call it era, maybe slightly different generation from at least from me, right? And can you tell us how you think about public-private partnerships? Because the way the younger generation is connecting with each other is actually very different from how I would connect with my network. Can you share a little bit, and how do you think this could transform? What can we learn from the younger generation around partnership models?
So I think it's very important to firstly understand that, let's say, the founder, the chairman of the company, when you're trying to transform your company business or your philanthropic ideas, the founder of the company can either be the biggest bottleneck or the biggest enabler. So when the founder of the company is the biggest enabler, then I think the generational ideas just merge in so beautifully. It's not only got to do with because I'm born much later than, let's say, my father, my chairman, that I'll only be talking about AI, tech, and all. No. Maybe my approach would be different, but the idea and the end goal is still the same. We're talking in context to scaling the climate action. Nepal's popular for our adventure tourism, mountains, the Himalayas. People know of the Everest region, the Annapurna region, but the world, a lot of the world do not know about the other parts of Nepal, where trekking is much more beautiful, if not as much. And why people don't know about it? Because there's no infrastructure. So I'll give you a small example of a project that we did in public-private partnership. So we went and identified a trekking trail, and we got one or two people from the 7 houses we had identified. Because we run hotels, we got them trained in about a year's time for housekeeping, room service, the entire functions of various hotel. And then our hotel team upscale and redesign that 1-2 bedroom house into a 10-12 bedroom eco lodge. Right? So now our construction team built 7 eco lodges. We had trained people working there, providing local employment, buying and creating local produce, and now we've created a new tourism over there, which our hotel is marketing it for them. So because Nepal tourism is such an important sector, that's how indirectly we play a role there. But directly, when an issue like stunting, for example, now in the Hindu Kush region, there are about 240 million people that live around the Hindu Kush region, the 8 countries. And one of the biggest issues is malnutrition and stunting. So one of the programs we did with public-private partnership is we, to address stunting, where the index at that time was about 24% and our target was about 12-13%. The way we interjected on that was we identified about 12 private sector companies who were already producing cooking oil, eggs, biscuits, baby food products, and we partnered with the Gates Foundation had done a lot of homework and they had a lot of knowledge on nutrition. So they connected us with a university that helped these private sector companies fortify the existing products without increasing the price, because they already had the distribution network and the products were already consumed by the pregnant women, where the stunting was being affected in the Hindu Kush region. So this program started about 4 years ago, and through awareness and private sector intervention and working with the local, provincial municipalities and getting them to build the awareness, we're already seeing that curve go in the opposite direction. So this is another very simple private sector led partnership with local communities doing that. I can give you another example for mother and child, for low cost birthing centers or building capacity in the hospitals. Or the low hanging fruit for us is very simple. Nepal has the potential to produce 110,000 megawatt of hydropower. Just India-Nepal border requires 30,000 megawatt, which they need to convert from coal to hydro. Bangladesh needs to convert 10,000 megawatt of gas to hydro. Now, our entire economy, if we smartly get green financing, monetize on the entire carbon credits, we'll transform our economy and our livelihood. So I think that's where the private sector knowledge comes in, execution comes in, lobbying and changes in the policies come in, the knowledge of the multilateral agencies come in, and it just, if you're able to weave these stakeholders, you can really have a well-crafted program which will have meaningful, quantifiable impact. We're very, very clear that in 2025 we want to be able to establish the first Himalayan climate summit. The sheer scale and the size of the problem that most of us are aware of, that we need to further build the awareness that 1.9 billion people will get affected by the accelerating change of how the climate is affecting the Hindu Kush region. The entire world climate is increasing by 0.03%, but the Hindu Kush region, the Himalayan region, is increasing by 0.053%. Degrees. And just imagine, by 2100, if this happens, 1.5 degree comes in, we'll have 36% of the glaciers melting down, which means 800 million people who get the water supply, and the 1.9 billion people who live in the downstream. I mean, we're talking about something disastrous. We are already seeing that impact happening on the small farmers with floods, etc. And I don't think much is collaboratively, much is happening to what the acceleration of what's happening and what we need to do is not happening. And for 2025, I'm quite confident that we'll be able to put together a network and collaboration of partners that have knowledge, expertise, who understand the implication of what the stakeholders. We want to bring everyone under one roof and then come up with the right actionable policies and initiatives that we want to do to stop this. I'm very, very clear that that's 2025 goal.
Very good.
Our foundation, our foundations, our family, and our country's talking point priority is climate change, especially focusing not only in the Himalayan region in Nepal, but the Hindu Kush region. Because the problem and the challenges are going to be the same: the food security issues, the livelihood issue, the malnutrition issue, all of that. I think the single biggest opportunity we have is that, and this is something I learned, I attended this short course at MIT, and the professor comes into the room and he tells everyone, guys, just forget the full form of R&D to research and development. The new full form is rip and duplicate. That means there are things that have already been done before. There are already things being done in different parts of the world. Why? Don't try to reinvent the wheel, but try to localize that wheel that has already been made into how you can solve the issues pertaining to your environment. So I think in Nepal, just in the last 2 days, I can give you, because we're running out of time, I'll give you 2 examples. I was sitting with 2 YGMs. One was focusing and had done tremendous work all around the world in 8 countries on rebuilding afforestation. The other one had done a lot of work on monitoring the glacier meltdown. Now, these are 2 phenomenal young global leaders who are already doing work in other parts of the world, try tested. And I told them, guys, we need to get you guys to collaborate your technology that you're using, the best practices you're using, to come into the Hindu Kush region. So I think stuff like this will definitely slow down the process of the entire climate change and the effect of floods that we're already seeing. But private sector, government should be well prepared for the response of disaster or any natural calamity that takes place. I mean, there's a technology that's come where we get a 15-minute head start if a flood is about to come. I mean, this is one small leap, but there are many phenomenal inventions, technologies, and innovations that are happening that we just got to find and replicate it to our environment. That's what we need to do, and I think that's where we have the Davos, where we are meeting and listening to such brilliant minds, and we throw out a problem there, and there'd be dozens of the young people, because it's the planet that they want to be living in tomorrow, that they're already feeling responsible for, that they're all working on coming up with the right solutions for the problems. So it's a very collaborative, complex, yet we have to work on different aspects.